You might not have noticed, but the Dow Jones fell over 797 points today.
It is now infecting the markets worldwide. All the major averages plummeting today.
Food prices skyrocketing. Fuel costs are surging to the highest levels since 2008.
Oil prices have skyrocketed to their highest price since 2008. What, they're over $7 a gallon over the weekend? Oh, there it is, $6.99 for regular.
Inflation at its highest point since the 1970s. All of this is creating what even the Washington Post admits is a deeply pessimistic nation. But rather than confronting the decline of America under Biden and then trying to fix it, the media and even some in the GOP are desperately selling another war.
In terms of the no-fly zone, we've done it before. We did it in Iraq. We did it in Bosnia. We did it in Libya.
If NATO is not ready to confront Russia militarily in the skies, how NATO is going to defend eastern flank of its organization?
By rearming and sustaining the Ukrainian Air Force, they can continue to protect their own skies.
Now, all of these problems could have been prevented if we had a competent government, but we do not. Biden should have insisted on a realistic assessment of the situation in Ukraine. Instead, his team kept open the prospect of NATO membership for Ukraine, which Putin said he was never going to accept. In retrospect, that was likely a huge, huge, huge mistake. Now, of course, Putin didn't attack Ukraine under Trump because he knew that America was stronger and more practical under his leadership. Trump was a pro-energy nationalist who wasn't about to get rolled into supporting Russia's natural gas pipeline into Europe. And from day one, though, the White House, Pelosi, Schumer, they've worked overtime to turn back every policy of Trump's predecessor, Biden's predecessor, that worked actually to make America stronger and more powerful here and in Europe. Now Americans are made to pay a price for Biden's madness. A year ago, who could have imagined $7 a gallon gasoline prices? Not even I. As for the media, who seemed relieved to be able to change the subject, they don't like the devastation in Ukraine. Of course they don't. But they also don't seem bothered at all that Americans are hurting in profound ways. Think about how miserable the White House press corps was, let's say in, I don't know, kind of the end of 2019. What was happening then? Well, that's when we had energy independence. That's when we had low inflation, rising wages, even for blue-collar workers. We also had record low unemployment. We had good trade deals, and we had no new wars. It didn't matter that investor and consumer confidence was an all-time high or that optimism was robust all the way around. In fact, that annoyed our media so much. And some of the other characters I just mentioned, they had to set upon to destroy Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is a Russian operative. The 101 contacts between Trump's team and Russia-linked operatives.
Russia hacked our election. That was a 9/11 scale event.
And, of course, when Biden got in, he and his band of saboteurs set a course to radically change America. From the way our children view our founding, to the way we recruit and train our military, to the way we power our cars, and to the way we look at citizenship even. They spent trillions of dollars, which just drove inflation through the roof, and then they refused to admit that inflation was actually a real thing. And now they're telling you, it's time for more sacrifice.
So true that the world needs to be prepared for a very long, difficult road ahead.
What Biden did to America in just over a year is what he's doing to himself politically. He and his party are poised for a historic rout in November. And if he thinks his 10 minutes of discussing the tragedy in Ukraine is going to help him, he's just wrong again. People will continue to be killed in Ukraine, and it is horrific. But our elites keep pushing the lie that people in Ukraine and here are somehow protected by the rules-based international order. That's somehow going to fix things. We just have to go back to that. That is wrong. Under Trump, they were protected by the USA. But once we became too weak under Biden to protect anyone, well, things started to collapse abroad. When China berated Blinken, remember that, in Alaska, and then trashed America? That showed us what they were trying to do. It was ugly. And my prediction is Biden will continue to be humiliated by China. As for those who say talking about China is a dodge, you saw that today, well, it's the only way to realistically assess, though, isn't it, what's happening in Ukraine? Because China is a major check on our ability to affect the situation. Every bad thing that is happening is only happening now because our elites at some point in time thought it was okay to make China the most powerful country in the world. So now, here we are. It's back to the 1970s. The U.S. is weakened. Under Biden, we're humiliated by a smaller power like Russia. We're divided at home. We're burdened with horrific inflation and economic problems. It's all self-inflicted by a White House and a political establishment that has failed the people who pay the bills. They've done it far too many times. But what the left will not admit yet is that Ukraine shows us in graphic, gory, tragic detail how globalization ultimately fails. Because the elites thought that somehow we could curtail evil with all, and again, the international norms, the new global order, the global reset, whatever you want to call it. That wasn't just idealistic. It was dangerous and it was stupid. The only thing that has kept bad actors in check was an America that was economically strong and culturally cohesive. When we lose not just one, but both of those things, we're not going to just see suffering abroad. We're going to endure plenty of our own here. But the only good news is that elections are now less than 8 months away. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.